What is the biggest reason you aren't rich yet? I don't chase wealth. I don't want to move to SF. I care more about doing something interesting than doing something that will make money. I could have been an early engineer at some big company's Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, but choose to do other things instead. I'm fine with being upper class, and not rich. If I wanted to be rich, I think I could be. Several friends of mine have done this in private equity, venture capital, startups like Reddit, etc. I would much rather collect a very good paycheck, and have time to relax and make art. Because in the UK child maintenance, child support take a huge chunk of your wages, they work this out before you've paid tax and national insurance, etc. Therefore the more you earn, the more they take. So on paper you're earning good money, but once they've taken their share there's not much left. Now I don't have an issue paying for my children, but I think they should take into account that you also need to live. I've turned down so many job offers because I'd be worse off with the higher wage. Canadian everything, taxes on taxes. All these taxes to support a bloated bureaucratic system of government employees and their golden pensions. If you're Canadian, you should know that the government sees itself as a better, more just, distributor of wealth in the economy and those who earn it. But first they give themselves gifts of your income, then they distribute to groups their party feels they owe. You complain about corruption and they'll tell you it doesn't happen here. Generational wealth is a big one, or just having that head start in life. Dad died when I was 4 and Mom when I was 19 didn't inherit anything cause we were poor. I've done well for myself coming from a background of no financial help, but I have to wonder what life would have been like had I had that sort of help. It also frustrates me seeing people who have that type of help being upper middle and are abusing it and being lazy. Like, dude, you could be doing so much more. I was afraid to go all in on a particular stock option at a particular time, and even though at the time I couldn't have realistically gone in with more than 4 or 5k, the value increases to 10x over the following 18 months, so that's cool. And again with BTC. I played with early Bitcoin and I've had various wallets with various balances, but I always spent them as cash. I didn't think of them as investments, and so now I own a fraction of a single coin as a consolation prize. Not earning enough. And my definition of rich is having 4 or 5 million net worth. As a millennial I'm in a very comfortable position but far from rich. I do have a paid off mortgage, 0 debt of any kind, 2-year worth of emergency funds saved earning 4.5, maxing out 401k and Roth IRA, taxable account to fund monthly, and even funding 2 kids' 529s and having just over 1M in net worth. But it sure feels like it'll take forever to reach my goal of 4 or 5 million net worth. I can't be bothered. I don't care that much. One of my exes was wealthy, I lived the life of excess, and I was the most miserable I've ever been. I learned that money does not make me happy. Friends, love, nature, outdoor activities, art, tea, hiking, mushrooms, animals. These are the things that bring me joy. That ex is even more wealthy now, hundreds of millions, and he still begs for me back. I don't want it. That's just not where my life is taking me. First you need to define rich. Assuming you are living in a first world Western country like most here, then compared to the world as a whole you are rich. To go further and compare to our ancestors, you are filthy rich. If you are defining rich purely on the people who live in your geographic location, then the reason you are not rich is that we only label someone as rich being in the top 1-2 of a population. So in that case it is a statistical problem. I did the whole do well in school, go to college, get a good job, finance a car and buy a home. Took me a while to find out a job means just over broke. Now later in life I'm juggling time and resources with family, bills, and learning how to gain passive income with modest capital investment. Although, I broke out of the family tradition of extreme poverty, joining a gang and going to prison several times. So that's nice. My wife tried to keep up with her sister's spending and they owned a successful business. Me, a CIO of a small firm, could not keep up, nor was I trying to. Was making 6 figures and we still took $70,000 out for credit card bills. Had to be quite angry at that point to get it across that was not an option going forward. Stayed married last 6 years for health insurance reasons, but divorcing in next 6 months. Fear and complacency. I rejected calls from Google, Apple, Netflix and many more top, growing tech companies in the 2000s before 2010 because I was scared of changing jobs and I was complacent in my early career. I imagine what would have happened if I responded yes to the Google recruiter in 2005. Don't get me wrong, I'm doing great. But damn, We're talking maybe worth $20 million right now and retired. I guess I am rich, but as I become more so, I keep redefining what rich is. I imagine that I will finally become rich when I can build the home I designed on some land and have my own recording studio. But I already own a 2-story 4BR home, on a corner lot, with a big fenced backyard and an attached garage. I own my late model low mileage cars outright, and I'm retired. So technically, I'm already rich. It takes time, patience, resilience and hard work and smart investments to start making money. For investments I don't mean stocks, things like professional courses, buying books, university studia, not spending money on things you will use once or twice and then collect dust. Eating out is a great money void, cooking at home is cheaper, and usually healthier depending on what you buy. Becoming wealthy based on talent, skill, work ethic, and positivity is incredibly difficult and very few people will ever manage given the current constraints of the world. It's not because you're lazy. It's because there's no path for the majority of people to actually become wealthy. We can improve the general quality of life for everyone alive, but we can't make everyone rich. Depends how rich is defined. I have a steady career with low-zero job security issues, great healthcare, and a 50 pension awaiting me in less than 10 years mid-40s age. I am fortunate to have no chronic disease. We pay our bills each month, own 2 cars, and take a lot more vacations than most. My bank account is nothing to brag about number-wise, but I definitely feel rich. In this order: 5 sinus surgeries, meningitis, Crohn's disease, heart failure, artificial heart transplant. I'm 9 years out from my transplant and I'm doing great. I've met my donor's family and we get together often. I'm retired now, and I did okay professionally. However, had I not been sick constantly, there's no telling where I would have ended up. I have a decent job, and I don't spend much money, but I need 10-20 more years of continuous saving compounding. It's income and time. You can put in effort and raise income. You can't gamify time though, and it's unrealistic to plan that you will be one of the few people that gets a crazy return from their small business or the startup they work for. None of my scams have hit big yet. I'm hoping the grounded up yeti powder for erectile dysfunction will make some money, but I mean, hunting down yetis costs a lot of money and we haven't really found a single one yet, so we're just bottling baby laxatives mixed with salt and cocoa powder. You know, to make it easier to swallow the bullshit. Funnily enough, a black dog ad came up for me while in this subreddit. It's almost like the Matrix was trying to tell me the one are laughing at me. Wealth begets wealth. And without a rare lucky break, generational wealth, a lottery win or a surprise OnlyFans career pivot, I doubt I'll ever finish pushing the stone up this mountain. My grandmother was sued by several organizations that were left out of a will after the person had decided to have it redrawn. Myself, my brother, and several cousins would have all benefited from her generosity quite well. The organizations won their case, and the old will was reinstated, granting us kids nothing. Mental illness and physical disability. Can't work a lot of jobs if you can't stand up for too long, and most jobs aren't cool with you losing 6 hours randomly 4 times every week to migraine headaches. Also, it's hard to work if you can't get out of bed because the world is too big and angry at you. My default state is contentment. All those dissatisfied people hustling for money, for change, for a different life. They're only trying to find contentment, and why should I bother if I'm already there? I'll never be rich, but I will continue to live every day to the fullest. I think life is wonderful. I am fully convinced the reason me and my family aren't absolutely stacked yet is because once upon a time my little brother stole my mom's credit card and spent several $100s on Robux, so instead of teaching him a lesson, my mom now buys him Robux every week to prevent that from happening again. I'm disabled with an invisible disability, one that you cannot see from the outside but is devastating from the inside. But in America, because it's not obvious or well known, I'm just labeled too lazy to work. Welcome to the American dream, you have to be asleep to believe it. George Carlin. Don't really have any high money making skills. I like reading and running, neither of which are skills I can make a living from. I'm good at being a worker bee, and that will never make me rich. I have enough to make sure my bills are paid and get to spend time on my hobbies, so it's all good. Me being in a freeze mode around money matters just like there is fight or flight, there is freeze, a more prevalent but least talked about mode. Me being in a protective mode rather than growth mode. I played it safe, consistency, boring and secured rather than risky, adventurous. Money just doesn't excite me. What makes me happy requires little money, the problem I run into. At my social level, everyone is after the little I have. The powers that be refuse any sort of work-life balance, that in having to live in a system with the vast majority hungry for my money. I don't know how. Poor parents, good education, can't afford to go to university. Now 26, working with a 3K salary and living alone, no car, no expenses, just me renting a small flat and investing the leftovers, about 1.5k euro, go towards my portfolio every month. Hopefully this will do one day. I'm not willing to step on the necks of others, which is what it would take in a capitalistic society. I have a roof over my head, a toilet, a bed and food in my belly. What more does one actually need? I take rich in friends and family over rich in material possessions every time. Folded hands. Married someone who decided to lose all ambition after vows were exchanged. Blew through my savings in my last year of the marriage. Single mom life, and what I pay for daycare is a mortgage payment. Hoping to make a huge leap in salary in the new year as I'm working to rebuild my lifetime. I only started my career a few years ago. Before that I spent a decade in grad school. Now I'm saving that minus expenses nearly $200,000 per year, but I only just started this. But if I just put everything on repeat and keep doing this for a while, I'll get there. Depends on the definition of rich. I have a net worth of over 100k USD, which by worldwide standards is very rich, but by US standards is more middle class. I could probably have a lot more money, but I really don't enough drive. I get tired and burn out too easy.